ready.
Yeah.
Yes!
This is the Ross Kaminsky Show.
You're a great American.
Now, Ross Kaminsky.
Come on, man.
On Denver's talk station, 630 KHOW.
I think I got the wrong lights on in here, Shannon. I'm going to go push a button over here like that. That'll be better. Good morning, everybody. Shannon just reminded me that it's my favorite day of the week, Thursday. And indeed, it is my favorite day of the week. And, well, every day is my favorite day when I get to talk to you in the morning. So thanks for being here. And Shannon informs me that it is National, a whole bunch of different things day, but the one we're not going to focus on is National Cherry Popsicle Day. I do like popsicles, but cherry wouldn't be my first choice of flavor. Not, it's not the worst, not like a kale popsicle or something, but it's National Dog Day. Right, Shannon? Did I read that right? Yeah. That was a not-so-friendly dog. I was thinking about my dog, little Reuben, the friendliest little dog in the world. But anyway, it's National Dog Day, so if you have a dog, say something nice to him this morning and let him know he's got his own day. And whatever he asks you for over the course of the day today, just give it to him. It's National Dog Day. It's one day a week, and we can all spoil our dogs for one day, unless you're like me and you spoil your dog every day. Two quick things I want to mention going on. Tomorrow, listener lunch with me at Steve's Snappin' Dogs at 3525 East Colfax at noon. I don't normally set appointments at round numbers like that, but I just figured it's so easy for lots of people who don't have my own odd form of OCD to remember. So noon tomorrow at Steve's Snappin' Dogs, 3525 East Colfax, and your lunch will be half off if you're eating lunch with me there. And he'll give you a card for a free beer the next time you come back. What'd you say, Producer Shannon?
Producer Shannon.
Given your proclivity for prime numbers, what time will you be there?
That is an excellent question. I need to show up a little bit early anyway, so I'm thinking I will probably be there at 11:29, maybe 11:23. So I'll be there a little early because there's a couple things I need to do before most other folks get there. So I will probably be 11:23 or 11:29 tomorrow. Thank you for asking. It makes me feel a lot better to remind folks that at least I personally will be arriving at a prime number. So that's lunch tomorrow.
Hey, and then maybe eating 3 hot dogs.
Ooh. There are a lot of, I could eat 1, 2, or 3. I think that 1 is technically not a prime number, even though it is, I think by definition, even though 1 is only divisible by itself and 1, I think the first prime number is actually 2 and not 1. So, yeah, now Steve said I was maybe have to eat their chimichanga, their chimmy dog, which sounds very filling. So we'll see. Anyway, that's on Friday. And the other thing I wanted to mention to you, we had Chris Boyer from the Honor Bell Foundation on a couple days ago, and I just wanted to remind you that if you got a little time on Saturday, this Saturday, over at the Lone Tree Brewing Company, they're going to be doing something they call the Honor Brews, BREWS. And you go over there, you have a beer, and there will be a donation made to the Honor Bell Foundation for every beer that is purchased from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Saturday. I'm actually going to try to show up. I don't yet know what time, maybe 3 or 4. I'll try to show up and grab a beer with some folks. But that'll be at the Lone Tree Brewing Company on Saturday, and it's just for such a good cause. I hope you'll show up there as well. All right, we got a very interesting show today. We've got Stuart Smith. I mentioned him to you. He actually owns Bueller Companies, the big moving company that I mentioned to you. But I think the moving business is really fascinating because it is impacted directly and indirectly by all this COVID stuff. And Stuart Smith's story about getting his company through COVID and the things that he's seen and what he's seeing now, I think is going to be really interesting. We've got James Taylor, not the musician. I had to say the not the musician part real fast because otherwise Shannon was going to look at me like, what? James Taylor? No, the president of the Heartland Institute, James Taylor, and we're going to talk some climate change stuff. That's near the end of the show. I actually have, for a few minutes, today at about 8:35, Blanche Lincoln, Democrat former senator from Arkansas. And we're going to talk a little econ with a former Democrat senator. It's going to be a very interesting thing. All right. I'm going to do this twice over the course of today's show because I think it's so important. So, I received yesterday from a source who will not be named by me a copy of some email communications. By the way, this is not like leading into one of Ross's dry jokes. This is real story. All right. In case you were getting prepared for a punchline, there isn't one. I was sent email communications between Dr. Dawn Comstock, the head of Jefferson County's Public Health Department, and the superintendent of Jefferson County Public Schools, Tracy Dorland, I believe is her name. And I need to share with you a little bit here of what Dr. Dawn Comstock said. I got to adjust that camera, Shannon. Said to the superintendent of schools. It's a fairly lengthy email, but you need to hear it. Just you and me here, she says. Well, now I'm reading it to you. She starts off, the public health official starts off with an email to the superintendent of schools saying, just you and me here. Well, not anymore. Speaking only for myself based on my conversations with authorities at different levels, Director Ryan, so that is the public health official at the state level, okay? Director Ryan will not put out a state public health order regarding coronavirus until incidence rates across the state get back to the high levels we saw last fall, winter. And the governor will similarly not put out another executive order until we get there because the governor has a libertarian streak and heard too many complaints from more conservative areas of our state during the lockdown. Denver's public health director prefers to have Denver Public Schools make the call for the schools rather than have the public health department for all of Denver override the school authorities, right? That was my interjection, that last part. For all the same reasons I've expressed to you, schools have always had the authority to put in place any health and safety rules they wish and have never requested nor required public health authorities, local public health authorities, to issue formal public health orders to make that happen. I will not share my discussions with him regarding what he will do if Denver Public Schools fails to implement rules on their own. If I put out a public health order, Jefferson County Public Health will be sued in Jeffco tax dollars and the CAO, whatever that means. I don't know what that means. And my staff will waste countless tax dollars and personnel time defending the public health order in court. If the currently unpredictable courts rule against the public health order, the future authority of public health in Jefferson County is greatly damaged. Now, before I read you the rest here, I just want you to really process what she says next and just how much of a sort of petty tyrant fever dream this is of all kinds of things that she could imagine could possibly go wrong. You know what? Oh, you know, I should see if I can find, I don't even know if I have this in my evergreen audio, but I'm going to take a quick look here. Hang on one second. Not there, not there, not there. Oh boy. All right. I don't think I have it. I'm looking for Eric Cartman saying, respect my authority. But anyway, you can imagine that, or Shannon can maybe find it, although that'd be hard to find on very short notice. Imagine Eric Cartman from South Park saying, respect my authority, when he dresses up as a police officer. Okay, so listen to this. This is, again, Dr. Dawn Comstock from Jefferson County Public Health. Worried about what would happen to her authority if she ends up creating some kind of mask mandate or other public health order that gets challenged in court, and if she loses. Here's what she says. What happens when a landowner then refuses to follow our JCPH, Jefferson County Public Health Order, to stop contaminating an open water source? What happens when a restaurant owner who has miserably failed his inspection refuses our order to close until he comes into compliance? Public health orders are supposed to be the very last resort, used only when there is no compliance expected from those causing or at risk to a public health danger. Like, really? She thinks that this is the next step if people challenge an overarching, overweening mask mandate, that suddenly landowners are going to be permitted to contaminate water? Are you kidding? She says, this is very different. You, meaning the public schools, have 100% authority over all health and safety rules in your schools and contemplate control over and complete control over enforcing them. You have the ability to implement a mask order and to enforce it. You also know I will support you 100%. Okay, now listen to this. This is, again, from the head of Jefferson County Public Health to the head of Jefferson County Public Schools in an email that she began with the words, just you and me here, not realizing I'd be reading it to you on the radio. She says, and I quote, I will even be willing to say I pressured you to make this decision so you can say you took action that you knew would protect students but also protect the school culture, etc., in order to avoid having the public health authority dictate rules that would not be sensitive to the needs of students and their parents. So what's happening here is Jefferson County Public Schools have been listening to Jefferson County parents who were against overly broad, overly aggressive mandates, and Jefferson County Public Schools trying to find a way, like some of our other school districts, not all, but some, to not go down the mandate road. And the head of Jefferson County Public Health is leaning on her to try to, at first, gently cajole, but wait till you hear what comes next, and then really lean hard on her to impose a mandate. So let's continue with what Dawn Comstock has to say. You are choosing not to implement rules for purely political reasons. You are bowing to pressure from misinformed parents in a way that clearly puts all of the students in your charge at unnecessary and unacceptable levels of risk. And let me just also note here, this is a perfect example of why I object so strenuously to allowing unelected public health officials to make these kinds of decisions because they never take into account anything other than their own narrow world of public health. And it's fine. She's more than welcome to focus on public health and not anything that the parents want, but she shouldn't be the one able to make the decisions. It should be someone else who takes in more inputs. Okay, here's the health piece, here's the parent piece, here's the legal piece, here's the student educational piece, yada, yada, yada. Dawn Comstock continues, I need to make sure we both clearly understand the precedent that will be set by our actions moving forward on this. If you require me to enact a public health order for the school health and safety issue, you will be undermining your and Jefferson County Public Schools' authority to enact and enforce all your other current and future health and safety rules. What happens when parents start sending their children to school with high fevers and whilst vomiting and refuse to come pick them up or keep them home the next day because, quote, it is my right to do what I think is best for my child's health, question mark. Is that a reasonable fear? I don't think so. If a large enough group of parents do this, you will then have to turn to CDE, CDPHE, or to me to receive the authority to force compliance. What happens if parents begin sending children to school armed because they fear for their safety in this era of school shootings and do so touting the Second Amendment? What? Is that a legit fear? By the way, it's a massive violation of federal law. Has nothing to do with just a school's health and safety rule. It's a violation of federal law to have a handgun on or even near a school. If enough parents do so, and these parents begin challenging your weapons bans in court, you'll have to turn to CDE, the state, or me to receive the authority to force compliance. Heck, what happens if large numbers of students blatantly begin violating your dress codes or honor codes in ways you feel are bullying or otherwise detrimental to student wellness, and when you try to suspend them, they take you to court? CDE may be able to help you, but I certainly won't have grounds to issue a public health order to help you. Right now, you and other school leaders truly have far more authority in your schools on this issue of masking than I do, unless you choose to give that up and in doing so set this precedent. So first of all, that's like an insane bunch of hypotheticals from this particular public health official. Now, the last paragraph. If I have to issue a public health order, I will likely not only issue one just for masks in classroom settings. If I'm going to end up in court anyway, I'll do everything that is needed to keep school children as safe as possible. I would consult all legal resources at the state and county, as well as my national professional organizations, to determine if Monday's DOJ announcement provides a path towards requiring vaccination, at least for all of your faculty, staff, and any other adults who interact with school children. I will address the testing issue and the extreme risk extracurricular activities pose. If I'm going to take that step that will so damage the future authority of public health, I will do exactly what is truly needed to prioritize, emphasize, and protect in-person educational activities. That means no unvaccinated visitors or volunteers interacting with school students, weekly testing for all unvaccinated students, faculty, and staff, and a likely ban on all indoor extracurricular activities, as well as a ban on holding other high-risk activities like band and choir indoors, even if they are school classes rather than extracurriculars. If you force me to use a public health order, I will use it to take every reasonable and evidence-based action to ensure students can safely have in-person education this year. Everything else must be sacrificed for that. This is, you mean who wrote that email? The woman who is in charge of the Jefferson County Department of Public Health, who has the authority to issue public health orders for the whole county. How about that for dictatorship? So she is telling the superintendent of Jefferson County Public Schools, if you don't issue a mask mandate because you listen to the parents in your county and you don't want to go against the vast majority or whatever, I don't know if it might not be a majority, it might be a minority, for whatever the reason is, she doesn't want to issue a mandate. Basically, this is like the nuclear option, right? Dawn Comstock, the director of Jefferson County Public Health, is telling Jefferson County Public Schools, if you don't issue a mask mandate, then if I have to issue a public health order, I'm going to come in and crush you on everything. I'm not just going to mandate masks. I'm going to mandate vaccines. I'm going to stop extracurricular activities. I'm going to stop sports. I'm going to stop everything. And she says that, and this is the key, she ends her email by saying, everything else must be sacrificed for what she claims would be safe in-person education this year. Now, everything else must be sacrificed? There are so many aspects to this to talk about, and we'll talk about them over the course of the show and over coming days and all that. The bottom line is this. Life is not risk-free, even for kids. Nobody cares about my kids more than I do. And as a parent of two school-age kids, I will be the one deciding what level of risk I think is appropriate. Now, both my kids are vaccinated, and I do encourage that, even though kids have very low risk from COVID. I do encourage that. But if they weren't, still, I would make the decision. Do I want my kid to wear a mask or not? Do I want my kid to do remote learning? Or what is it? What I don't need is somebody who, based on her training and her job, does not attempt to balance any of the other equities in this conversation. Can my kid learn while having to wear a hot, uncomfortable mask for 7 hours? Or is it so distracting and uncomfortable that it truly harms my kid's education to be putting my kid in a mask? Some kids will be fine with a mask. Some kids won't. Then the parent has to decide, is it more important that my kid gets, the educational thing right? Or do I want my kid wearing the mask and being uncomfortable? Whatever. That's up to the parent. It should be up to the parent. I get it gets more complicated than that. For example, an unvaccinated kid whose parent doesn't have them wear a mask, and then is that kid going to spread a virus I get all that. But leave it to parents to decide. And when Dawn Comstock says everything else must be sacrificed, I mean, talk about one of my favorite lines. Dawn Comstock, thank you for being my point. Dawn Comstock represents everything that I have said to you since the beginning of COVID about how decisions that last more than a day or two, that impact on people's freedom and personal choices and decisions they want to make for the betterment of their own family, those must be made, if government is going to be involved, they must be made by people who are as close as possible to the voters. Hopefully people who are actually elected. Superintendent isn't, but at least I think a little closer to the voters than the public health official is. Anyway, you get the idea. I'm going to read that again in a couple of hours, but I wanted to share it with you now because it's such a remarkable thing, and we will soon see whether people call for Dawn Comstock's resignation.
KHOW Denver, 630 KHOW, an iHeart radio station. Available everywhere on our free iHeartRadio app. #1 for music, radio, and podcasts, all in one. Now, Impact Traffic.
This report is sponsored by Woodley's Fine Furniture.
From the Bedford Sports Traffic Center, good Thursday morning. The highways are getting busier. Got a first trouble spot in from Lakewood. Eastbound 6th Avenue after Sheridan. It's an accident. As many as 5 vehicles. On eastbound 6th Avenue past Sheridan, right lanes tied up there, and 6th Avenue jamming back to Wadsworth. Now the rest of the highway's in good shape. Had some construction along I-70. That has been all picked up. 270 getting heavier and building on I-76 through Commerce City. Fox 31 pinpoint weather. Partly cloudy this afternoon, high of 89. 30% chance for scattered afternoon and evening storms. Right now, 66 degrees. Impacting your drive to work, Susan Phelan, 630 KHOW.
Woodley's Fine Furniture, specializing in handcrafted Colorado-made furniture, custom upholstery, solid wood, and the most comfortable leather furniture imaginable. You will not find better built furniture in Colorado than at Woodley's. Visit woodleys.com today.
We're actually going to have my friend Stuart Smith, who owns Bueller Companies, on the show in about 40 minutes, 35 minutes, something like that. Bueller Moving and Storage is really a top-notch, grade A moving and storage company. Residential, we use them for our own moving and storage, right? Commercial, I really want to make sure you understand this. If you're moving your office, and you could be an office of a few people or a few hundred people or a few thousand people, Bueller can help you with that. And they will do as much of the work as you need, and they do things that are sensitive to the fact that you are in business. For example, coming in and doing as much work as possible after hours so as not to interrupt your employees, just as one example. So when you are ready to move your business, whether it's across town or across the country or around the world, talk to Bueller Companies and let them help you. BUEHLER companies.com, or, since it's easier to spell, rosskaminsky.com/moving.
Win your way to our 2021 iHeartRadio Music Festival, September 17th and 18th.
T-Mobile Arena here in Las Vegas.
Coming live to iHeartRadio stations across America and streaming free on the CW app and CWTV.com. You'll see Billie Eilish, Cheap Trick, Coldplay, Dua Lipa, Finneas, Florida Georgia Line, J. Cole, Journey, Khalid, Lil Baby, Maroon 5, Nelly, Sam Hunt, Weezer, and more. Listen every weekday to win your way there.
This is Kurt Cambier. Go to kurtcambier.com for your free financial portfolio analysis. That's Kurt with a K, cambier.com.
Securities offered through Cambridge Investment Research Inc., a broker-dealer member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisor representative, Cambridge Investment Research Advisors Inc., a registered investment advisor. Cambridge and Centennial Capital Partners are not affiliated.
The fastest way to know what your home would sell for today is from the Ribble Group, Keller Williams DTC. Simply text your address to 800-763-3000. No phone call, just text your address, 800-763-3000, 800-763-3000.
Labor Day weekend is right around the corner, and the Rockies are at home September 2nd through the 6th. The Smart Fan sees that as a prime opportunity for a staycation with family and friends. Hot dogs and burgers on the grill, cold beer and sodas on ice, and great giveaways all weekend. Go to Rockies.com today.
Her face lights up whenever you're around.
That's why the diamond you give her can't be like any other.
At Williams Jewelers, exceptional brilliance is in our DNA. I'm Bruce Williams.
And I'm Steve Williams. We grew up in the diamond business.
And as direct diamond importers, we personally hand select every diamond.
Going through hundreds at a time, looking for what really matters. Life.
Like people, no two diamonds are the same.
Some just sit there. And then there are those rare gems that explode with fire and brilliance.
A diamond that shines like no other.
And surprisingly, it's rarely about price. No one sells a more beautiful diamond for less. That's the Williams Diamond Guarantee.
So if you found the woman who loves like no other,
give her the diamond that shines like no other from Williams Jewelers.
Where Colorado shines.
Williams Jewelers, we can make diamonds a part of your life.
Williams Jewelers in Cherry Creek North and in Inglewood, where Colorado shines.
Plumbing, heating, cooling, electric, and drains, and I trust Fix It 24/7 to take care of me. Great news. Fix It 24/7 is offering $77 off any repair. Leave your cares and troubles behind and let them take care of you. $77 off. 720-526-3939 or fixmyhome.com.
When your house is in trouble, Fix It 24/7. We'll be there on the double.
I struggled with symptoms like frequent gas and stomach pain for years.
I was bloated all the time with daily diarrhea.
At first, I thought it was what I was eating.
I kept thinking it was stomach issues.
So I did my research and talked to my doctor, and we finally uncovered the truth.
It was actually EPI. Exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI, is a condition where your pancreas is unable to help break down your food.
It can lead to symptoms like diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, unexplained weight loss, and oily stools.
And EPI symptoms can be confused with those of other common digestive conditions, like irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's, and celiac disease.
So getting to the right diagnosis meant being more open with my doctor about the severity of my symptoms and how often they were happening.
But there's good news. EPI is manageable, so don't wait any longer. Use the symptom checker at identifyepi.com and schedule a visit or call with your doctor to ask, could I have EPI?
Sponsored by AbbVie.
One of the things that happens when markets are stable for a while, and especially when interest rates are fairly low, is that ginormous pools of money that are seeking yield, and I'm talking typically about pension